Mm, 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 mm.
It's live.
Excellent. I want to thank you all, everyone, for tuning in this morning with us as we discuss off the record what women think men want. I want to thank my esteemed panelists for taking time out of you all's busy schedule to discuss this with me today. All right, we got Mimi, Naeemah, and we're discussing what women think men want. How you all doing?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Excellent, excellent. So this is a hot topic that people have kept DMing me about, inboxing me about. So I said I will ask some women so I can hear you all's opinion. The first question, we'll start with you, Mimi. Do you think men love the same way that women do?
I think that some men do and some men don't. I don't want to generalize because I don't think that all men are the same, just like all women aren't the same. But I definitely think that um, there are some differences, and some men do express their love in different ways. And so I think that it would come down to a woman learning her man's love language, and goes back to the book Gary Chapman's Five Love Languages. Just every man is not the same, so it's not healthy to generalize and say all men love differently from women, because I don't think that's true. But I do think that some men express their love differently than women may express their love.
Absolutely. I also want to take this time to say before we get deep into the conversation, thank everyone for watching. Shout out to Brother Danny, who says I'm a real TBO. Thank you, sir. I'm trying my best to get some things accomplished. This episode is brought to you by ABC I Love Me. One of us, special sister of mine, wrote a great book dealing with self-esteem for children, and that's what this podcast is brought to you by. Shout out to Miriam Muhammad for doing that.
Thank you, Josh.
Naeemah, do you think that men love different than women?
Mimi basically said my answer, but like she said, you can't generalize, and every person has a different love language. So you just have to know your particular man's love language. But yeah, she summed it up pretty well.
Okay, excellent. Naima, do you think that men care about looks?
Absolutely. Men are definitely physical creatures, is that look can make a man stay or, necessarily leave, but they definitely grab a man's attention. And yeah, they're important. So we're not gonna act like, we're not be spooky.
Hi,
here.
y'all.
Hey, Asmeejah.
Hey.
I'm trying to operate this. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Assalamualaikum. As we just here, thank you, Asmeejah, for taking time out of your day. Excellent answer, Naima. Okay, Asmeejah, we'll let you come in on this one as well. Do you think that men care about looks?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right.
No question.
Okay, Mimi, do you think? Oh, hold on, Brother Mark says he loves my hats. Thank you, Brother Mark. I know you're a Patriots fan deep down inside. Mimi, do you think?
Without a doubt, men are physical creatures. They definitely care about looks. That's the first thing that you notice when you see somebody is,
yes,
they look good. Hey, you hear it your entire life from the first time you interact with men. Most women can relate. Red shirt,
Right.
Braids, red green shoes. Like, it's just always physical that a man is going to comment on because
that's true.
What he sees. So absolutely, men are very physical and looks matter.
Y'all go on.
Some people like Josh who say they don't, but yes, they do.
Brother Josh said that.
He's like he has stated on past podcasts that looks don't matter to him, but you go to Joshua's page, he's posting beautiful queens. He's not
all day, every day. And he calls Beyonce his wife, so he's
exactly.
Right.
Okay, this podcast is not about Joshua, but if it was, I care about the inside of Beyonce, the beautiness of
You
her.
don't know the inside
Right.
of
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You have
That
to get
makes
there.
sense.
You have to get there. So I'm not saying that men are shallow. I'm just saying the first thing that you are attracted to is the appearance, it's the outside, it's what you see. It matters.
Right.
Thank you, T Farrell Muhammad, for telling us that we are beautiful. Thank you very much, young intelligent. Mark says not as much as women care about it. Great point, brother Mark. Speaking of that, Mimi, do women care about looks?
Absolutely. I can speak for myself personally. Attraction matters. A handsome man is going to, catch your attention. Somebody who is well put together, that person is going to attract your attention more than someone who is not presentable or doesn't present themselves in a manner that's aesthetically pleasing. We're just talking about surface level. When you first see someone, all you have to know, all you go on is their appearance. You don't know anything else. So, that person is attractive. So absolutely, looks, that's the first level of attraction is the physical.
Okay, Naeemah, do you think that women care about looks?
Absolutely. Like Mimi said, we definitely care. We want someone who, catches your eye, catches your interest. Like, oh, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's Asmeejah. Do you think that
But
women?
what I can say is I don't think women are as shallow as men.
Oh goodness.
I would agree. I would agree with Naeemah because I feel like if someone makes you laugh, then you're like more inclined to be like, he may not be the most physically attractive person, but he's funny, or he treats me well. He's a good person. I feel that women are more observant of all characteristics
Right.
than men.
Right.
If a woman is not attractive, most men would dismiss her. She's not eligible. She's not an option for me. Where women, it's been my experience, with women, myself and women that I know, where this person is not the most attractive, but he is kind. He is nice.
Right.
I'm going to eliminate that person just because they might not be their physical type.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Asmeejah, do you think that women care about looks?
Yes, I know we care about looks. I just know that's not all we care about. I will say that we are very much like what Mimi said. We take in the whole package, and what looks good to each woman. Most certainly, there's a lot more variation. I feel with women than there may be with men, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Excellent. Brother Mark says, can someone can look great but have poor character? Now you're stuck. Excellent. T. Farrell says, so Jerome from Martin can't get any attention? Question mark.
Somebody would check for Jerome. Somebody would like Jerome.
Jeffrey Muhammad says, beauty is something that a man may see first, but trust and believe beauty alone will not keep that man. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna go with Naeemah on this. How much does money matter in a relationship?
Why do you have to come to me first? Money definitely matters, okay? I grew up with my father being the main provider for his wife and his children. So I knew that before I got married, that I was looking for a man who was willing to be a hard worker and a provider for their wife and their children. So it definitely matters. I don't feel like you should be in a relationship with someone just because they have money, but it does matter. Bills have to get paid, nails have to get done, hair has to get done, all that stuff is very real. So it definitely matters.
Okay, excellent. Asmeejah, do you think that money matters in a relationship?
I think it does. Not just a man's ability to obtain the money, but I think how they agree that it should be managed as well. Because as a woman, I mean, I expect for myself that I develop a savings, that I have a way that I manage, the money in the household, even my own money, my own personal money. So I think it matters, but not just how much is made, but how it's utilized as well.
Excellent. Mimi, does money matter in a relationship?
Absolutely. I agree with Naima and Asmeejah, what they've said. It definitely matters, the management of it. And I think that that conversation needs to happen early on, not just, oh, you have a job, how much do you make and the management of the funds, but the expectation of, gender roles. What do you think, how do you think the bills should be managed as far as who's paying what? And, do you have just as simple as, do you have a bank account? You got to start from the beginning and then the conversation can evolve.
That green dot.
Yeah, exactly. Finances matter because, if you don't have your finances in order, I don't think you're ready to be in a relationship or ready to, be married if your finances aren't together. That's not saying you're a horrible person and you're not marriage material. It's just not yet. So I think that there can be no romance without finances because that's the basis, and you need to have that in order before you can progress in a relationship.
Excellent. And for all of the magic that I'm hearing
Josh
from you all, I heard a great poet once say, I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she's not messing with a broken man. All right, listen. Fred Brown says, looks can be good, but if your something does not match, it's a waste. T. Farrell says, getting my attention is easy, but keeping it all together is different. Mark D says money is very important, but critical to a marriage, not necessarily a relationship. Money, Karima says, money allocation, establishing priorities. Excellent.
Can I say something to that?
Yes, ma'am.
That also goes to what is your purpose of being in a relationship? If you're casually dating, that's something different from courting or being in a relationship with the goal of being married. Because finances are absolutely important to that relationship because if you're planning on being married, then you need to assess how many children are we going to have? How many children can we afford? And that's the conversation that a lot of people don't have, and they don't plan for their families, and they need to, because realistically, what can you afford needs to be discussed in the beginning so that expectations are known. So why are we even further in this situation if you want 10 children? But I believe that based on your bank account and my bank account, we can only afford one. Then this we're wasting each other's time. So I feel like these things are elephants in the room that people don't want to discuss, but I don't see why. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about it early, and let's talk about it often. So we don't waste anybody's time. And money absolutely is important to the relationship, marriage, courtship. Like, I think it needs to be discussed. The woman's finances as well, and what the expectation of the woman is too, not just, oh, brother, let me see what, your finances are. The man needs to ask the woman what her spending habits are. What is her relationship like? What is her bank account?
Credit score.
Credit score. Thank you. What is your credit? Exactly. Those are conversations that need to happen together, not just the woman grilling the man, but the man asking the woman as well. It needs to just be an open and honest dialogue. Just my 2 cents.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Amina T. Farrell says can't be banking at the cash advance. Amina Toure says we have 8 children together, so finances are absolutely necessary. Another great poet that I read, his name was Iceberg. He said, if you think I'm handsome, you have to choose you have to pay my rent. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Listen, Mimi, what made you choose your man?
Oh wow, gosh, why'd you come to me first? Okay, there were several things that made me choose my husband of almost 8 years in July. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think that the main thing that caught my attention with my husband was that he was there was some mystery about him. I didn't know much about him, although I had known his family my entire life. I didn't know anything about him besides like his name, who his parents and siblings were. He was always about his business. I would see him come to the mosque, do his work, and leave. He wasn't His name was never in drama. He just seemed about his business. So that initially was what made me be like, let me.
That's crucial.
What this person, he seemed real mature and like serious. So I like that. So that was initially what attracted me to him. The second thing was that he was a fearless person. He was the first man who had ever expressed interest in me and was not timid or intimidated. He didn't show fear of my father. He wasn't like a coward, where a lot of men would be like, oh, I don't know, I'm interested, but your father's crazy or he seems scared. He was like, I don't want to take you out. I'm going to talk to your father. I'm going to get permission and we're going to go to this concert. And I'm like, okay.
Whoa. You gotta slow it down.
No, so I was like, okay, and he did everything very respectful. He was very respectful, but he knew what he wanted and he went about it in the proper way, and he wasn't scary about it in any way. So that's how I knew that he was a man, because and a Muslim man, a respectful man at that, because he let me know, I'm gonna talk to your father, and I want to take you out. I'm talking to him, get permission, and that's what he did, and we've been rocking ever since.
Excellent. Mimi, Camilla, your sister-in-law says, so Mimi, my mom just said she wants you and Akeem to have another one.
No, Sister Zanya, no.
Amina Teray says the brother maintains the home and I do as I please with my money. Okay, I see you, sister. And I please of some of the financial burden. Wonderful. Sister Karima says, I would leave room for growth to teach one another regarding finances. Excellent. Sister Asmeejah, what made you, I don't know if you have a man, but I'm assuming, I don't know, what made you choose your man?
I'm actually not married, so
okay.
In that regards, what would you like for me to answer?
I mean, if you have a man, what made you choose the man that, you know what I'm saying? If you're, I don't know if you're single or that, I'm saying.
I'm single, I'm not married.
Oh, you're single. Okay. I don't know. Naeemah. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like because I said some people might be like engaged. I don't know.
Well, Asmeejah, what are you looking for in a man? What are your qualifications?
I was giving Josh a little hard time. Just
I'm like, okay, my goddamn.
He just assuming. He over there assuming. Asmeejah trying to put you on frustrated.
I think what I'm attracted to, I will say, is most certainly a man who is comfortable in who he is. I like individuality. So if I'm attracted to a man, and there's a man that I'm attracted to, it is because he's confident in who he is as an individual, and that he operates, although he has a counsel, he has elders, he has, family, friends who are trusted, counsel people, but he still operates as an individual, between himself, Allah, and, that I would say inspires who he is as an individual. I personally appreciate that. Because again, very much like what you said, I think it expresses it reflects maturity, I will say, in a man. And this is a world where it is very difficult at times for people to operate as individuals. I will also say physical attraction matters for me for certain, but I look for a man who is healthy in his physical self. And I mean, again, that's a broad way of looking at it, because yes, you like someone who's maybe muscular, what have you, but for me, I'm attracted to a man who cares about being healthy, who cares about what he puts in his body, who cares about who's not a non-smoker, non-drinker. Those things matter to me. And then also someone who is responsible and dependable as well, because consistency is crucial. So I actually do like, I appreciate a man who is about a certain habit, who has a certain level of consistency in how he operates and, within his personal life.
Excellent. Naeemah, what made you choose your man?
Now, y'all know I could go all day. So,
yes, we know. So please keep it short, okay?
Short story. I met my husband in 2014 at work, and I liked that he was about his business. He's always quiet. He's very laid back. I never saw him in another woman's face. This is all before, we talked. I just was watching him. And he
You
just
were
was always
stalking.
about business. Not stalking, just checking how he was. So we actually met the week my grandmother passed away. And he didn't really know me, but he knew, like, he would see me, you know, dealing with everything at work, and he was there for me. And to me, being able to depend on somebody, that really bonded us, because I had lost the most important person in, you know, my life. And there he was for me, and we've been together ever since. And even though we did 2 years long distance when he was in Albany, finishing his degree, he was faithful to me. And, you know, the minister says you could tell, you know, how faithful you are to God, but how faithful you are to your woman or your man. And I knew that he was the one because we were long distance, you know, just all we had was a phone for 2 years, a phone and FaceTime. And it was never an issue. And he promised me, he said, when I graduate, we're going to get married. And that's exactly what we did. So.
Hey.
That's
I know he wasn't. I know he wasn't FaceTiming you though. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. We don't FaceTiming around here.
Oh my God.
Asmeejah.
Oh.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mimi. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing I don't know who said it in the comments, but you mentioned somebody said there's room for growth with finances. And I just wanted to touch on that. That's so true, because nobody has all the answers unless you're like you majored in finance or business, and you know about credit. But there's so many resources, and you can sit down together, go on YouTube. There's books, you know, you can go to the bookstore and just learn and grow. Like, I'm still learning and educating myself on finances. That's something that me and my husband like to sit down and just learn more about and talk about. And so it is, if you're both willing, you know, you have the same, you agree on the basic financial things, and you're both willing to learn more, there definitely is room for growth. So don't be small-minded and think, oh, this person has to be rich or they have to have all the answers and the perfect credit score. That's shallow, and that's not what any of us are saying, but we do think that finances are important. So definitely there is room for growth. I just want to.
I'm glad you clarified that, because a couple of people text me and said if they don't have a perfect seven credit score, they can't watch this. Okay, I'm glad you said that. Asmeejah, how important is quality time?
Quality time is everything. I mean, because that's your time to really, you know, keep getting to know each other, to keep checking in, to stay consistent. That's the time for intimacy, you know, in the sense of that closeness and that togetherness. So quality time is, I mean, I think it's it's up there with personal time.
Okay. Naeemah, how important is quality time?
As Miriam said it, it's just that important. It's that time to reconnect. It's that time to phones away, TVs off, just that time, just us connecting and staying on the same page. So I agree with everything she said.
Mimi, how important is quality time?
Very important. How can you stay connected with somebody that someone can become a stranger in your own house over time if you don't sit there and check in with each other? And I think it can become more difficult, you know, depending on the work schedules and children, but those are all excuses. You have to remember each other. Even if it's late at night, y'all gonna watch something together on Netflix, or y'all just gonna do a quick check-in and just have a conversation with each other. Y'all gonna listen to a song. Y'all gonna go for a walk. It doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to be an expensive date or something elaborate. Those are great and fun too. But, you know, some people like to use money as an excuse, and that's no excuse, because quality time can be sitting on your couch, just talking and reconnecting, or going to the library or bookstore, something that's free. It's just about spending that time. And people are ever growing and evolving and changing, hopefully. So you want to make sure that you know, who is this person, you know, today, what do they like? What do they dislike? So just continuing to get to know each other and court each other and connect with each other is key. You know, I think that would, if people did that more, I think that relationships would last longer and be healthier.
Excellent. Naeemah, how do you handle disappointments?
Just as an individual, as a
No,
couple.
in a relationship.
Handling disappointment. So I have learned to handle them better. Now, if you didn't know me prior to marriage, some people might say I had a little braddish tendency. I was, a little braddish, raised as a brat. But as a married woman, all that has changed. I've learned to literally sit down and call on the line and ask for patience. You know what I mean? Because my husband is very patient. He's a very calm and steady man. So he's really taught me that. You have to literally calm down, center. My tantrums, I don't get away with them in marriage anymore. They work on my daddy though, but they don't work on my husband. And I literally learned how to be patient. Marriage has taught me so much patience, and that's what I like. Patient is the main thing. You got to call on a lot, ask for patience.
Excellent. Asmeejah, how do you handle disappointment in relationships?
I am learning to handle it well because I'm a pretty direct person. So I think that it's a lot of times it's about how you react to it, how you handle it, and just understanding that, we are all imperfect people. So we need grace, we need forgiveness. Allah gives us mercy, forgiveness, grace. So I just look at it like I have to be able to extend that to someone else because I may, at the end of the day, be at the source of someone's disappointment as well at another point in time.
Excellent. Mimi, how do you handle disappointments in relationship?
Communication, just talking about whatever it is, whether it's something that I did and I feel like I disappointed my husband or something that he did. I feel like just talking about it and talking through it. Well, this is how I felt when this happened. This is how I apologize. Apologizing is like a huge thing. Just apologize. And the best apology is change behavior. So monitoring my behavior to make sure I don't do it again. Or, how can I avoid this from happening again? And like Asmeejah, I'm a very direct person. So I like to talk. I'm a talker.
Right.
He married a therapist. So he just has the fact that I like to talk things through and process them. And I just feel like that's just healthy. Now picking the best time to do that is key, but definitely just talking about it so it doesn't happen again. I'm not the type of person who just lets stuff fester or holds on to things and becomes passive aggressive. I just believe in expressing like, hey, that that wasn't cool. I wasn't feeling that. Maybe next time instead of this we can do this. So I apologize. I could have handled that better. Just
I agree. I think I agree also. I think that it's important to be able to let it go. Let it, live in just that moment where you're able to address it. But, if you're not going to address it and let it go, then for me, I feel like, what are your intentions? To me, I feel it's important to address it for the purpose of getting through it. And then at that point, let it go.
Moving right along. That's right. I agree.
Wonderful. Everyone who's watching, thank you all again. The subject matter is what women think men want. Mimi, what is your advice for single women?
Okay. I would say I was single for a very long time. People who watch me grow up in the nation, they just think that I just, up and got married when I was 25 years old and didn't have, any kind of life experience. And that's not true. I think that for single women, it's important to get to know yourself. Make yourself happy. Figure out what makes you happy so you're not looking to someone else. You're not putting your happiness in someone else's hands. My husband added to my happiness. I don't charge him with making me happy. That's an impossible task for someone else. That's not fair. I don't think that it's his job to make me happy, and it's not my job to, be the source of his happiness. God is the source of our happiness, and we enhance each other's happiness. I'm able to communicate, as I said before, what I don't like with my husband because I know what I don't like, and I knew what I didn't like before we got married. He knew certain things that he didn't like. I knew certain things. Now, of course, that changes as you mature and grow. But just for single women, Be patient. Patient is key, so you don't settle. Figure out what your standards are. A lot of people talk about standards and having high standards, but you can't even meet the standard that you have for a
Right.
man. So be the standard bearer in your life, and then you will be able to require that of someone else. So
Mhm.
be patient, make yourself happy, and make a lot sufficient. So you're not looking for a man just to come rescue you out of your misery. If your misery or you're in a crisis, let me just go ahead and get a man. That's not going to fix your problem. A relationship doesn't fix any issues. So work on
Mhm.
yourself, be happy, and make God sufficient. That would be mine.
Excellent. Asmeejah, what advice would you give to single women?
Um, I would say yes, definitely. A relationship doesn't fix issues. I think it would expose them.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I kind of lost my thought for a second.
Sorry.
But my initial thought when you asked that was just, if you desire love, to be loved, to exemplify that. If you desire peace, exemplify that. Be exactly what it is that you are wanting to attract. And so, whatever that means to you as an individual, aspire to be those things that you want to see in your potential mate, and you will attract that. That's my personal view. I feel like that's what I've learned, because when you get to positive places in your relationship, because they won't always be perfect. So understand also what you're asking for. If you're a single woman who wants to be in a relationship, if you're a single woman who is enjoying being single, maybe you're in a relationship but you're not married, then continue to enjoy that aspect of your relationship until you get to the point where you're ready to be married. But I'm sorry, hold on, y'all. I'm being requested.
Don't
I
stop.
understand. I understand. I was just
You said, hey, hold on, kids, sit down. Listen, Naeemah, what is your advice to single women?
These beautiful sisters said everything that I wanted to say. The only thing that I will add to that, these perfect answers, is to take your time. Sometimes, especially in religion, we feel pressure at a certain age as women that we have to get married. And if you're not married by this age, then you're not quote unquote successful, or you're not, you're breaking the law, or, you're just not, they try to put a tag on you, about your age if you're not married by a certain age. And I feel like that's wrong. And so I feel like single women to take your time and don't let any outside forces pressure you to make such a lifelong commitment. So focus on yourself. When you are happy, when you're doing your purpose, when you're living in your truth, when you're grounded, that's when
Right.
Allah will bless you with that right energy.
Right.
Excellent, wonderful. Asmeejah, what advice would you give to women who are in relationships?
As far as what, just general advice?
Yes.
I would say, because I'm a mom, and at the end of the day, that informs a lot of my identity. But I co-created these children with, a male, so that relationship still has to stay positive. So for me personally, we're investing a lot in keeping our relationship positive, in respecting each other, loving each other, in not just tangible terms, but real terms. In our action, I would say, for women who are, you said, who are in a relationship.
Correct.
Continue to carve out time for yourself, because as a woman, you're that first. I am Asmeejah before I was Asmeejah before I became a mother, before I, did anything else that involved, other people. I was myself first. So continue to develop who you are as an individual, and let that inform your roles as a mother, your roles as a potential wife, or your roles as a, woman in a relationship, whatever type of relationship that is. What I'm learning, I will say, is that the way I address much of my relationships as a daughter, as a sister now, it's very similar, to be honest with you, is through love, respect, mutual respect, through just getting through the stuff, because we have our stuff, we have our stuff, and just keep going through the stuff, getting through it, you know, dealing with our mental health stuff, you know, staying healthy, staying positive in the world that we're living in now. And I mean, I feel like I just address all of those relationships in the same way, you know, with a positive outlook, you know.
Excellent. Naeemah, what advice would you give to women in relationships?
I would just say, like Sis Asmeejah, just to take care of yourself. You know, when you feel good about yourself, when you feel worthy, when you feel loved, all of your relationships are better. Like she said, with your siblings, with your parents, with your spouse, you know, with your friends. When you feel good about yourself, you know, your life will flourish. So just take time to, you know, be true to who you are. You know, if you're spicy, keep that same spice. If you're funny, keep the same, you know, keep your inner self up, you know.
Right.
Okay, what about you, Mimi? What advice would you give to women in relationships?
I absolutely agree with those things as far as not losing your sense of self. And I will also say invest in the relationship that you're in if you want to stay in that relationship, whether that's making time for each other, you know, going to counseling if you feel like you're in a crisis and you just need help with that situation. Don't be afraid to seek counsel from qualified individuals, whether that's somebody who, you know, you can confide in and, you know, you trust, you respect them. And don't be afraid to seek professional help, whether that's married. There are people who have spent many years doing research and have a lot of experience counseling couples. So try that route as well. So if you're to people who are in relationships, just focus on, you know, if you're in a healthy relationship, focus on making that situation, you know, work and thrive. And if you're in an unhealthy situation, my advice, because plenty of people in unhealthy relationships, my advice would be to seek counsel. And if it's not working out for you, and this is gonna be so unpopular, so I'm not even gonna look at the comments. If it's not working out for you, don't be afraid to consciously uncouple or whatever that. And I say that because, you know, yes, I'm already feeling the God hates divorce. He also hates lying. He also hates cheating. Let's talk about all the things that God hates. I see a lot of people who stay together and they're miserable and they get sick. It's toxic. So if you're in a situation that you know is toxic and is killing you, I'm talking to you, the people who know who I'm talking to you. If this is not for you, keep scrolling. Leave that situation to be happy. And if you're in a good situation, work on making that work. That's all I have to say.
Excellent. I want to thank you all. Y'all giving great answers, and thank the people who are watching as well. One of my favorite mentors, Dr. Henry M. Carter, says, one of the keys to a successful relationship is to stop looking for the total package, i.e. good looking, certain height or skin color, and have money, etc. The total package is a myth. Learn to discipline your disappointments, meaning that your spouse isn't perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Henry Carter. Speaking of skin tone and complexion, Naeemah, did skin tone play a part in you choosing your man, or do you think it played a part in him choosing you?
I don't think it played a part in me choosing him, but what I did ask early in the relationship was, are you a colorist? I feel like sometimes people don't ask those questions early enough, and that's a real life thing. If you are courting, dating somebody, you need to ask them, are you a colorist? Ask them about their past. Ask them why are they talking to you. You know, like who. Ask him about what celebrities that he like, and I wanted to make sure he mentioned some dark skin ones. Because if he just like, you know, he was obsessed with foreign girls, then he wasn't the man for me. And that was going to be an issue. So I definitely, it was. You can ask my husband. Like we talked about it a lot early on, because it was men who would say, you know, you're pretty for a dark skinned girl. Well, honey, I'm not the one, honey, because I'm about to, you know, tell you about this. But having that conversation in any dating or court thing is necessary. But yeah, his color didn't affect me. I'm not a colorist, so.
Okay, Mimi, did skin tone play a part in you choosing your man, or did it play a part in him choosing you?
Absolutely not. For me, it didn't. You had to ask him about that. I don't think that it did. Like Naeemah, we grew up in the same household, and so our mom, we talked about colorism all the time. Our siblings are all different complexion, and we know that Black is beautiful in all shades. And so,
Right.
um, my husband's siblings are all beautiful in different shades as well. But I too asked him those questions and saw like, okay, who, what celebrities that person like, and just having a reality. As a Black woman, I could create a child any complexion. How are you going to
Right.
treat that child? You know what I mean? So, pay attention to that stuff because people think that it doesn't matter. But if I saw him liking the mixed kids page or something like that, oh, I'm not going to look for you because that's not how our children are going to
They're
look.
gonna look,
So
right?
you have to pay attention to those things and have those conversations early on because I wanted to be with a man who would love whatever we created, whatever complexion our child came out of. So no, it didn't matter to me, and I made sure. I feel like we had that conversation to make sure that it wouldn't be an issue when we had children, and that's something that people need to consider too. Because if you have a type and you want somebody who's a certain complexion, your child can come out looking nothing like that. And so will you love that child? And so as petty and as shallow as it sounds, there are people who are so sick with that and they treat their children differently based on that. So that's something that needs to be talked about as well.
Excellent. Asmeejah, I don't want to say your name wrong. Is it Asmeejah? Because you said Asmeejah and I've been saying Asmeejah. Is it Asmeejah?
It's Asmeejah. It is Asmeejah. I was gonna slip y'all a little note later.
Well, Asmeejah, I got that from Mimi because she kept saying Asmeejah, so I was like,
guys,
all right.
don't do that.
But if it's Asmeejah, I'm gonna say Asmeejah.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do that, and I actually not a lot of people. So I'm sorry, it's just y'all.
Okay.
I'm kidding. It's
Correction. Asmeejah.
I
I've been calling you Asmeejah since we were children, and you never corrected me. But now I stand corrected.
What? I'll be honest with you.
Asmeejah.
I usually do, but I don't always catch it because those are the ass and the eyes. I don't always catch that every single time. It's the other stuff that butchers it up that I catch. Yeah.
You have a beautiful name, Asmeejah.
Thank you.
Pronounce it correctly.
Thank you, Josh, for clarifying.
Okay, so Asmeejah, do you think that skin tone did it play a part with you choosing your man to have children, or do you think or vice versa?
Well, okay, so Marcus, no, I don't think so. He and I have children together. I will say that I did like his complexion, but I can't really say. When I say complexion, what I'm talking about is not the color, but I'm talking about the actual look of his skin, So those are things, I like nice skin, but I have to be honest with you, the actual color, I don't know if I'm even articulating that in the best way. That's never been something that for me matters. I find certain types of or certain complexions of individuals are attracted to me, and I don't know if there's something behind that. But for me, no, I can't say. I mean, to be honest with you, if I look at men that I'm attracted to, none of them really look alike.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Mimi, do you think there's a such thing as a soulmate?
Absolutely. Soulmate can be seeming cliche, but I do believe that Allah, God created everyone in pairs. And so I do believe that there are soulmates. And I think my husband is mine.
Excellent. As Asmeejah, do you think that there's such thing as soulmates?
Joshua, no. I do think there is a such thing as soulmates. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it comes too in friendships as well. I will say that. Yeah. I have found in relationships, your mate can be your best friend too. So yes, most certainly in romantic relationships, but I think there are also people who are meant to be in your life and be connected to you that you're drawn to in other aspects as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Naeemah, do you think there's such thing as soulmates?
Yes, sir. I absolutely do, and I feel like the reason they're your soulmate is because God gives them all the things that maybe are your weaknesses or the things you're lacking. They really are the compliment to you. So.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay. Well, one of my favorite movies, which I think is the greatest love story of all time, is by the name of The Notebook, right? And in The Notebook, there was a time where the main characters weren't together, but they were soulmates. I'll start with Naeem on this. Do you think that you can be have a soulmate and y'all not be together, but then somehow end up being together, or is that just some movies?
That's a good question. I would say yes. Life is real. Things happen. People can, fight, break up, but it's all about that last part is the key component, ending up together. And I think so. I think you can. I think life can take you on an individual journey for God to bring you back together. So,
yeah. What about you, Miriam?
I agree.
Okay. What about you, Asmeejah?
I agree.
Excellent.
I actually think I've read of stories where people reconnected after years. I'm assuming they were soulmates, but it sounds like they were. I think people can find each other. I also think that you can find someone else that. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Mom life. It's real.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Henry M. Carter says each person has the biorhythm, and the rhythm has levels of harmonic energy. Some people's biorhythms do not align. Absolutely do not. Okay, Mimi, how important is having some things in common with your man?
It's very important. If we don't have anything in common, we don't have anything to talk about, it's not going to work out. When you first get with somebody and you're talking with them, you have the small talk, getting to know you type of things. If we don't like the same music, I'm like, oh, okay. We don't like the same movies, oh, okay, let's see what else. Me and my husband, we have a lot of differences, but we have more in common, and that's what bonds us. We like to do the same type of things. So when we're courting, it was just a natural flow. We both like to go the same kind of places. We like to travel. Like that's what bonds you to somebody. If you don't have anything in common, no commonality, what are you going to talk about? Where are you going to go? You're going to be, one person is going to be dragging the other person,
Right.
through life essentially, or one person is always going to be there. In relationships, there's a natural compromise that you make, but one person shouldn't always have to be doing something that they don't like to do. So I think that having things in common is a part of that. That person is your soulmate, like Brother Harry was saying, and vibrate on the same frequency. That I think goes hand in hand with having a lot in common with somebody.
Excellent. I'm coming back to Asmeejah and Naeemah, but Mimi, with a follow-up question was that how important do you think it is to not have some things in common?
I think that's key as well, because if I'm doing something, that my husband is plenty things that he's interested in, and I'm like, that's not my thing. He can do that with his guys, and that time is so important. And stuff that I like. My husband hates shopping. Like that's something that I do. I do that with my sister. I do that with my friends, and that strengthens, that healthy space apart and having your own things. Like I'm really into photography. I like to write. All those type of things. My husband's not interested in those things. It's fine. That's stuff that that's my me time or something I do with, fellow people who like to do those things. My friends, like you don't have to have everything in common. I think that having differences also has attraction power too, because opposites attract. However, how opposite is
Right.
what each individual has to decide what will work for them. So me and my husband, we don't like a lot of the same things, but we like enough of the same things that it works.
Excellent. My East Side brother Yahweh says biorhythms are so real. 100. Okay, Asmeejah, I wanted you to. I'm coming to you next, but Asmeejah, I wanted you to finish that the point that you were making dealing with the soulmates.
Oh, that, well, I do think that you can move forward. Like, okay, so if you have two people who, had a great connection, and then they're split and they separate and they come back together later, those two people might not be who they were when they, first were connected. I mean, and that's my opinion, that's my thought process. And I don't necessarily think that it means they should still push to be together necessarily. They might need to let it go and go forward. That's my thought process. But if you're fortunate enough to meet your soulmate and you all make it work, and you go through life and you're thinking of that person, or longing for that person, and you have an opportunity to get to make it work again, I think that I don't see why you wouldn't.
Excellent. Naeemah, how important is having something in common with your man?
I think it's very important. Mimi really summed it up, but that common ground is the connection. Like, for example, me and my husband are the biggest Office fans you'll probably meet, and we love to watch The Office almost every day. That's our show. Like, that is our show. So that's beautiful. Then on the opposite side, I don't care anything about football. He's the biggest Falcons fan. So he goes home to his family and watches the games with them. That allows me to go bug my sister, my family, and my siblings. So I think that balance is key.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And shout out to I heard you're a cool brother who introduced you to the office by the name of Josh Muhammad. Boom, yeah. There it is. Asmeejah, how important is it for you to have something in common with a man?
I think it's very important. It goes back to being able to spend time together, sharing those same interests. I mean, you create traditions. I mean, so much can go into having, a common viewpoint, worldview, religion, common friends. There's so much that goes into those commonalities that you can build off of. So I think it's very important.
Excellent. Now, Asmeejah, how important is it to have some things that you don't have in common with your man, with a man?
Well, I feel that I most certainly have interests that Marcus has not shared, but I've been able to put him on to new things. And I feel like someone else, for anyone else who has differences between their mate, they're able to, from those differences, learn something new if they're willing. I think that difference incites new experiences and maybe some eye-opening situations, unless you like, no way, no how. I mean, it's like that sometimes. I'll use this as an example. Horror movies and different genres of music and entertainment. I was pretty much into certain things. I had certain stuff I liked and things I thought I didn't like. But when someone has differences, they show you that, well, you just didn't know enough about this. You thought you didn't like it because you weren't exposed to it. So, it kind of I think it can broaden your horizons, as people say, when there are some differences.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Okay, Mimi, what are your feelings on your man having friends? And the reason I'm saying man and not husband, because some people in the audience are not married, so I just wanted to clear that up. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the reasons that do you think that your man? How do you feel about your man having friends of the opposite sex?
It's a no for me, dog. I'm
Josh, I could have answered that.
Exactly.
Answered that. Listen, Mimi answered it for all of us. Next question.
Right, next question. He knew not to ask me that question. Because I was gonna say, no. Hell no.
And I want to say this. No. I want to say this because it goes back to the first question that you started with, and you asked about men, and you asked about physical attraction. Most men, if you look at their female friends or people who they were friends with, these are women that they would, if you ask, they would be with them. I would put that. They're usually attractive or something attracting about that person. So what you need a friend for? That's me, baby. I'm that friend. I'm your best friend. I'm your sounding board. Talk to me. You don't need that. You know what I mean? And the same is true. There are plenty of people brothers who I grew up with. That's family. But guess what? I'm not talking to them on the phone, not on FaceTime, not on Zoom. It just eliminate that cloud of suspicion or that what if, that gray area. You don't have it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just cut that out. Certain natural things, and it doesn't have to be something big to do. You know, it's a respect thing. I respect my husband, and there's a natural boundary that comes with that. I don't need to be in some other man's face or talking to him. That's not saying that, you know, there are people that I'm, you know, happy to be like, oh my God, I see you at Savior's Day. We grew up together. I'm so happy to see you. I love you. And that's as far as that goes. We don't need to communicate all the time. For what? It's not healthy. And people who advocate for that usually, you know, they want to play devil's advocate. Well, what if that's just a friend and that's just okay, let's see how that turns out for you. It never ends well. It does not end well. Now you can have somebody who they were a great friend and you respect what it was, but when you get a wife and you're in a relationship, that dynamic has to change because my husband come in and I'm just chat on the phone with someone. Oh, Trey, hold on, I'm gonna get your dinner in a minute. We talking about a TV show. What? Like, what is that? Or if I'm just coming in the room. He's like, he's just a kikiing, laughing with some other woman. Like, for what? No. That's not saying you can't have conversations with people. You can't have working relationships with people. You know, you don't have to be a weirdo. But when it comes to close, you know, these best friends, nah, homie, nah, it's not gonna work out.
Okay, Naeemah, so do we need to ask you this question? Or
hell no. Next question. You don't need to ask me that question.
I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to get in trouble with it.
I think that usually if it's a viable friendship that person feels like they couldn't do without, their mate is gonna know that person. They're gonna feel comfortable with that person. She or he is gonna become a mutual friend probably. You know, if it's somebody that I don't know, you know, where they come from, or if it's somebody who's coming back from way back when, I just feel like that's questionable. But usually when people have extended family per se, because my close friends do become family, and I feel like anybody who loves me is going to know who they are. So if they haven't been accepted and we haven't agreed that this works, then it either can't be or we can move forward. But generally speaking, when people have exterior friendships or associates or work friends, I mean, all those things I think have a place and a time. And if you're prioritizing your mate, your relationship, or your marriage, you know, then it's a choice that you're going to make, and you're going to put your mate, your relationship, your marriage first.
Excellent. Speaking on the friends of the opposite sex. So one of the girls that I used to talk to in high school,
Always high school.
I was popular. One of the girls I talked to in high school, she wasn't. We came from different sides of the family dynamic. As far as she came from a family that wasn't very close. I came from a family that was very close. We'll start with you, Asmeejah, on this. How do you feel with the man being close with his family, or not being close, or not understanding your closeness? How do you deal with that with your family?
With him being close with my family or not close with my family?
No, close with his family, like being too close with his family, or you know what I'm saying, you feeling left out, or vice versa.
Well, I mean, I think I'm a pretty family-oriented person. I have a very large family. Since the passing of my grandmother, our family hasn't been as close as we were in years, but we still are very much a close-knit family in the sense of our bond, our love for each other. I would want him to have that same closeness to his family, so he can understand and respect, you know, why I'm so bonded to mine. So that he can also share in it, because sometimes if a person doesn't have those same close-knit relationships, you know, they might not understand or respect your need to hang out with your cousins, or, you know, have family over to the house, or, you know, spend the night. We used to love to stay overnight. And I mean, if your mate isn't into that, that's going to be a conflict of interest. So I would like for that person, because I want to know their family too. Like, the bigger the better. The more unity there is, the better. I would hope that, you know, that we could all become close. So it's very crucial to me. Now, if there, you know, in my case, you know, Marcus has lost his dad when he was in his youth. And when people experience things like that, you know, there's a little more to kind of get through. So I feel like it's important to bring that person into your family too. So sometimes it's not just a matter of them not wanting to be close to their family, because I think he's very close to his family. I think when you have those situations, that's why those lines need to kind of get blurred a little bit, because we're all family and we all need to really, you know, depend on each other, rely on each other, love each other, and be there for each other.
Excellent. And hold on, Yahweh says no new friends. Absolutely.
That's right, husband. That's right.
Okay, Naeemah, how important was that dynamic dealing with you and your man?
It was very important. He knew as soon as he met all of us, we were loud. We were texting each other all the time. We were into each other's business. So he knew how close my family was. Just off the first time he met all of us, he knew we were very close. But then when I went to his house, I knew that they were very close. Like he has a family group chat with all his siblings and his parents, just like we have our sibling group chat. So he understands our dynamic because he has that on his end. So I think when you find someone who's just as much as family oriented as you are, it's easy. It's easy.
Excellent. And Rashad, you're still not, just because you're not in the group chat doesn't mean we don't love you. And shout out to baby for kicking.
No, when you don't respond to the group chat, you get kicked out the group chat. That's Muhammad rule. You don't respond, you get kicked out.
Okay, Mimi, go ahead. I mean, about the closeness of the family.
That's very key. What Sister Asmeejah and Naeemah have said is definitely I agree with. When prior to me being with my husband, I had a great relationship with his family. And it's so crazy because people think that I just knew him. I didn't know him. I knew his mother and I knew his sister. Like I had a close relationship with them just from being at the mosque all the time. And his mom would always like, have you talked? Did you see Akeem today? And I would just laugh like, like, no, I don't ever see him. Like I don't talk to him. But she would always like just kind of like plant that seed. Like, you know, I was cool with Sister Zanya before I was cool with Akeem, like, and his sister actually was our wing woman type man situation at Wednesday night meetings, and she would like get information about, you know, like kind of be like that intercessor. So it's always been like a family affair from the beginning, and so I spent a lot of time over his family's house. His dad and mom would be cooking and inviting me over. My mom's always having something, taco night, Super Bowl party. It's Wednesday, scandal. She's super festive. So I knew that my family loved him. They know him since he was a baby. His family know me since I was a baby. So it was a natural affinity there. So I knew that our family would mesh. And even to this day, like my husband, he gets in this mode where he's working all the time. I'll be like, have you talked to your mom? Have you talked to, you know, like just reminding them I love his family. So we're a close family. Like me and my siblings are close. I'm also close with my husband's siblings as well. And I love them. So that I've been blessed in that aspect where, you know, our son is super straight. He got grandparents on both sides who spoil him and love him, and cousins, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I think that even if you don't have
network.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's a huge help too. It's a huge help as well. So family is definitely important. I also understand that everybody does not have that. And if you come from a situation where you don't have the healthiest relationship with your own family, and your mate does have a healthy relationship with their family, that can cause some resentment, and you need to work on those things. Don't try to pull your spouse away from their family because you don't have that. Like you were saying with your high school situation, that can cause some resentment because that person had, jealousy and unresolved issues.
Right.
Talk about it. Just be real. If you feel that coming up, talk about it. And that's not something that can't be worked through. Now, if you see
Right.
that progress is not being made, then maybe that's not the situation for you. If family is something that you value and that is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I just want to say that when me and Solange first met, we got very close together. We I'm just telling y'all, so we don't have those issues, so whatever. Anyway,
I'm glad I get along.
absolutely. How important is cooking? We'll start with the name on this. How important is cooking to a man? How important do you think cooking is to him?
I think cooking is very important. I can only speak from my perspective, but I cook for my husband Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I tell him he has to take me out because I cook, during the week. But I love to cook. Like before getting married, I was not the best cook. You can ask my siblings. But now that I'm married, I have perfected my craft.
Growth and development.
Shout to my crock pot. But it's very important. I feel like if my husband's working all day to make sure I pay 0 bills, the least I can do is cook for him. Just
go ahead, MGT, cook that meal.
I just think it's very important. I grew up in the house where my mom was cooking for my dad or my grandma was cooking. So that's just what I'm accustomed to. Being in the nation, you're just accustomed to sisters cooking. So it was a natural transition for me.
Okay. Asmeejah, how important is cooking to a man, do you think?
I think it's not everything, but it is very important. I mean, because that's the sustenance, and then a lot of people, there's acts of service and love languages, and I think I've always felt, from my mom cooking for us, or making the meal just how you like it, or I've always felt like that was how people show love, so I would, if I were a man, I'm not, but if I were, I would interpret that as my woman showing me, love through her, I guess, acts of service. Cooking is crucial. I mean, first of all, it takes time. So if a man does not understand that she's put in time, and I personally, I have so much more respect for the women in my family, because since becoming a mom, the way that I have to cook, I feel like I'm in the kitchen all the time. They always want to eat. I'm just saying, it takes time. It takes time. You don't have, how do I put it? If you're not committed and in love with the person that you're serving, it's not something that you would do for them, except that you love them, because it takes time. If you're a woman who has your own ways you want to do things, you got your personal life, you got your friends, you got your hobbies, you have work yourself, you will cook for yourself. But cooking for your family and cooking for your man, it is most certainly an expression of love and devotion. So a smart man knows that cooking matters.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mimi.
They already said it. It's important. It absolutely is important. When I was courting my husband, I would cook for him, let him know, like, I can cook. I can bake too. You want some cookies? All right, I'm baking. So I think it's important, and I think men do care, and it's definitely a way that to show your love language. And like what Asmeejah was saying, it was easier. Like I would have the meals ready. I had my Pinterest recipes. Like when I first got married, it was just easier when it was just us. Now that we have a son, and he's such a picky eater, and so now it's hard because it's like, okay, I'm making this. I want to eat this. He wants to eat this. Our son wants to eat this. So it's definitely like a labor of love, and it's a way to keep your family safe. Like you're the chemist, you're the doctor, you're making sure you're doing what you got to do. But on the weekends, I'm not cooking.
That's right. Don't work on the weekends.
And I married a man who his parents taught him as a life skill. He knows how to cook. So sometimes
That's right.
I will cook for you. And that is such a amazing blessing. Or guess
Right.
what? If I have to travel, if I have to go somewhere and he is on dad duty and watching our son, I know that my son's not going to starve because his
That's right.
cook for him. So that is a blessing.
Right. Excellent. And I don't want y'all shaming me because I don't know how to cook. Okay. But my in high school, as Asmeejah shaming me, I see the shame, the judging in her eyes. Listen, my I didn't know how important cooking was until my freshman year in high school. My girl, we would every time we would go eat, it would be 4 all the combos, all the you know what I'm saying? It was killing
Both
me.
for
And then
four.
yeah, exactly. And then my junior year, the girl she was a different background, so she knew how to cook. So she actually cared more about like you know like what made my allergies and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate cooking better because I met someone my junior year that you know with the cooking skills that the freshman girl didn't have. So I understand. I want to thank my esteemed panelists for coming on. I want to thank everyone for watching because this has been very helpful. And I'm going to make sure I put it on YouTube. And I want to thank you all. Asmeejah, will you please say goodbye to everyone?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And I enjoy speaking with these beautiful women here. Joshua, you are in good care, good hands. You got all the answers. You got all the answers right here.
Okay.
These two young ladies.
Excellent.
Oh, hey.
Naeemah, you want to say goodbye?
I just want to say thank you for having me on the show, Brother Joshua. I appreciate your platform. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for even having this discussion, and thank you to the beautiful panelists. I'm learning so much from you beautiful ladies, so thank you.
Thank you, Naeemah. Mimi. Mimi, I'm waiting on you to say goodbye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking to Miles. Thank you, Brother Joshua, for this discussion, all your interviews. I love them. I'm tuned in. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you to Asmeejah and Naeemah for the discussion. Love you guys. I had a good time.
Excellent. And I want you all to make sure that you all are tuned in at 6 p.m. because Tom Brady's getting another ring tonight. All right, you all have a great evening. A great day. Thank you everyone for watching. All right, bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks, Mom.